Hello, readers and writers, and welcome to lesson 47 of your ELA School Away from School. I'm Mr. Driver, and I'll be your virtual teacher for today's daily lesson. Let's go ahead and start with those guiding questions that hopefully you've memorized by now. We've talked about them every single week. What journey does your food take before it gets to your plate? And how do we make decisions about what we eat? Remember, we're going to be addressing these questions through all of our work. All right, time to get those materials out for today's lesson. You are going to choose your self-selected focus text 1 and 2, whichever two articles you chose. Lesson 47, your lesson 47 note catcher, as well as your position speech checklist, which is going to be found just right after your note catcher, and a pencil. Go ahead and pause the video here, but you make sure you have everything needed for today. We have three learning targets for today. I can present claims and findings in a focused, coherent manner using relevant evidence, sound reasoning, and well-chosen details. I can use effective speaking techniques, appropriate eye contact, adequate volume, and clear pronunciation. I can integrate multimedia components and visual displays in a presentation to clarify information, strengthen claims, and add emphasis. So as we break these down, all you're doing is, we talked about our graphic organizer from the last lesson. So now what you've got two articles, you've thought about which one is the strongest in your opinion for the country, which, food chain, food system. And so when you think about this, you're just basically, if you're thinking about, like, if you were telling a friend, you're telling, a family member, caregiver, which one you think. All we're doing is we're writing what you're thinking, what you're talking about, you're writing that down. So then you're able to present the claim. And when we present the claim, we're saying it out loud. We can videotape ourselves from our phones or our computer, or you can even just practice by looking in the mirror. But we're presenting that in a focused, coherent, so it's got to be clear, using evidence that is relevant, which connects. The second target, when we think about using effective speaking techniques, appropriate eye contact. As we move into high school, as you start doing more high school work, you're going to see that presentation, especially when we talk about speaking and being able to present clearly, fluently. That just takes practice. And sometimes it's hard whenever we're maybe speaking in front of a lot of people, but this is why the practicing piece of this can be so effective, is that you're doing this either by yourself, you're recording yourself. And so that second one is talking about adequate volume. You're not yelling, but you're also not whispering. So you're talking at a reasonable volume, clear pronunciation, and that's going to take practice sometimes. If you're reading straight from a script or something, it just means that you practice over and over. The more times you're going to say it, the more clear that it usually comes out. And that third learning target, as we unpack today, is using multimedia components. And what that means is that if you're able to find a picture, you're able to find video or anything like that, visual displays. Do you have to find a video? No. Do you have to find a picture from a computer screen? No. But you could just take a picture straight from the article. You just want to have something that brings a visual piece to your article or to your claims. So being able to have something like that. If you have any magazines or anything like that, you can always flip through it. But if not, you can once again just use the picture straight from the article. And this is going to hopefully add emphasis to it. So let's keep all these targets in mind. Okay, using your note catchers, learning about the food chain. Once again, this is the position presentation prompt that you're going to find on lesson 47 in the read section. But using your note catcher and learning about each food chain, the industrial, organic, sustainable, and hunter-gatherer, you're going to use these food chains, or at least two of them, to write and present a position paragraph speech to answer the following question. Which of the food chains would best feed all the people in the United States? Consider the following. When taking a position on an issue, you need to research the pros and cons, or strengths and weaknesses, and compare it with an alternative option, a second option. When putting forward an argument, you need to provide relevant and sufficient evidence to support your claims. With a family member, caregiver, or friend, I want you to read the checklist. 1. Complete the graphic organizer from lesson 46. If you've already completed it, great. But if not, then you definitely want to make sure you do that before you proceed to step 2. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be done in today's lesson. And then step 6 is going to be done in the next lesson. So step 2, use your graphic organizer to write the speech. So once you got your ideas and thoughts down, I want you to take it straight from the graphic organizer, and you're just going to kind of carry it over in the work time today the writing piece today to write your speech. Step 3, you're going to draw or choose visual component for speech. So you're going to draw or choose at least one visual component for your speech. And this, once again, can come straight from the article if needed. Step 4, practice delivering the speech. So this is going to be you practicing like you've been with your reading, your fluency practice. You're going to read something over and over and how you want to present it, making sure it sounds right, because if not, you may want to go back and just kind of tweak it a little bit. Step 5, deliver the speech to someone you know, someone that wouldn't mind hearing you practice. So this could be a family member, caregiver, or friend. And then the last one, which is going to be step 6, we will do in tomorrow's lesson, in the next lesson. And this is going to be to adapt step 6 is going to be to adapt speech for a final presentation to someone or a group of people, like a family member, caregiver, or friend. So as you think about these steps in this checklist, think about what you've done already, think about what you need to do, but go ahead and pause the video here while you return to thinking about what needs to be done today. Okay, we're going to think about a couple things then. So during this part of the final presentation, I want you to think. Does the graphic organizer from lesson 46 best represent your position with supporting evidence? What images will illustrate your position in a clear and strong way? How can you practice your presentation to ensure that you speak loud and clearly, making eye contact and pronounce all words accurately? Pause the video here while you think about these questions. Now it's time to have that discussion with your family member, caregiver, or friend. So does the graphic organizer from lesson 46, what you worked on in the previous lesson, does that best represent your position with supporting evidence? What images will illustrate your position in a clear and strong way? Will the image that comes straight from the article? Will it be some images that you've either found from another article or another source? And then the third question I want you to talk about is, how can you practice your presentation to ensure that you speak loud and clearly, make eye contact, and pronounce all words accurately? So go ahead and pause the video here while you think about these, but also talk about these with that family member, caregiver, or friend. Okay, so for the writing portion, as we continue to kind of complete all these steps, and we're kind of doing a lot of steps during today's lesson, but for the writing portion, we're going to use the lesson 47 note catcher. You're going to write your position paragraph speech below on the lines provided. You're going to use blank paper to provide a visual component that helps clarify information. This can be just a regular sheet of paper. If you have something bigger like poster board or anything else, you can use that as well. If you don't have anything, of course, the paper is provided for you in the note catcher. This can be drawn, or you can use images from past articles to help support your claim. Use the following position speech checklist to ensure that all criteria will be met. And I'll show you that on the next slide. Deliver your presentation to someone while they use the position speech checklist to give you feedback. Go ahead and pause the video here as you think about all these things. And then the next slide, we'll talk about that reading or that position speech checklist. So go ahead and pause if needed. All right, as you can see in the position speech checklist, you have a couple different things. So we have the speaker is the left column. You have check if yes in the middle. And this is more so just checking yourself to see whether or not it's been done. If someone's listening to you, they would check that. So of course, like you're using this, it's just a way to check to see, was this done? On the right, any comments or questions. So if someone's listening to you, they would listen and see if they could check whether or not you started with a claim that clearly answers the guiding question. And then of course they could check yes. And if say comments or questions, like maybe like you kind of addressed it, but you didn't, like, so you can also add like, any type of words on that. So as you're completing this, I want you to think through each of these criteria that is going to be found on the speaker. So of course you have like provides at least 2 reasons for making the claim, provides relevant evidence, which is evidence that relates to the claim you're making. And then of course provides a counterclaim, or a second, like, claim, meaning like if you're choosing hunter-gatherer, then it would be like a counterclaim to that one, something that's different. That way you can compare and contrast. The presentation piece, are you making eye contact? You're speaking clearly, you're using appropriate volume, things coming straight from our learning target. And then that visual component, once again, you're choosing a visual component that clarifies information. You're also integrating the visual component into the presentation. So this can be done through a computer screen. It can be done through a piece of paper that you hold up. It can be done through like if you are an artist or someone that wants to draw something more, you can draw a bigger picture. The last one, of course, is you will be presenting to somebody, preferably an adult, but whomever is needed to present. Okay, so you can pause the video here as you need, as you continue thinking about working and completing those steps. But once you do finish your work for today, we will go ahead and talk about just wrapping up today's lesson. Let's think about how you do with that learning target or those targets. I can present claims and findings in a focused, coherent manner using relevant evidence, sound reasoning, and a well-chosen detail. I can use effective speaking techniques, so appropriate eye contact, adequate volume, and clear pronunciation, coming straight from that, that checklist we were just looking at. I can integrate multimedia components and visual displays in a presentation to clarify information, strengthen the claims, and add emphasis. And then as a closing, I want you to share your writing and share your drawings with somebody. Share the work that you've done. And you've done so much work, and I know there's a lot of steps in today's lesson. So share that with someone. Also remember to read that book today for 20 minutes or read something for 20 minutes. And you can also read with a family member, caregiver, or friend. I also want you to practice fluency by reading article for at least 1 minute, again, 60 seconds. Choose the one that you chose on Monday if possible, or at least from the first lesson of this week. That way you can compare, of course, how many words you were able to write, or not write, but read in 60 seconds. So once again, you time yourself for 60 seconds reading whichever article you chose, just to see if you were able to read more words this time around. So you want to write your number, compare that to Monday's, or compare that from the first lesson of this week to see how many words you were able to read, and celebrate your hard work, and hopefully that you are reading a lot more within 60 seconds. And this is just practicing the fluency and showing how well you are doing with that. So thanks again for all your work today and over the past weeks. We will be concluding our work for everything. So our final presentation as we kind of finish with all our steps we've talked about, and we'll just be kind of refining our work to make sure that it is high quality. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.